Have you ever just stopped to wonder how we actually get sick? I mean, it feels like there are a million different illnesses out there, but what if I told you that they all pretty much fall into just two main groups? Seriously, understanding that one single difference is the key to, well, understanding almost all of human illness. So let's break it down. Really, it all boils down to this one question you've probably thought about before. Why is it you can catch a cold, but you absolutely can't catch cancer? The answer to that reveals this fundamental split in how we understand and how we fight disease. And that's the core idea we're going to unpack.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the absolute basics. What even is a disease? Then we'll get into those two major types of illness. After that, we're going to zoom in on two very different examples, cancer and measles, to see this in action. We'll do a quick sorting game to test our knowledge, and then we'll get to the final, most important takeaway. First up, let's get a definition.
Okay, first things first. Before we can start sorting all these illnesses into different buckets, we need to be on the same page about what a disease even is.
It's a pretty broad definition, but it's a good one. A disease is basically anything that messes with the normal function of a body, and that can be at any level, from your whole body down to your individual cells. It's just a disruption to your health.
All right, now for the main event. All of those different diseases we just talked about can be sorted into two main buckets. And this simple distinction, well, it changes absolutely everything about how we understand and treat them. In the first bucket, we've got communicable diseases. The clue is right there in the name. They can be communicated or passed along from one person to another. These are all the infectious things you can catch, like the common cold or the flu. And in the other bucket, we have non-communicable diseases. You guessed it, these are not infectious. You can't pass them from one person to another. This category includes illnesses that develop over time, like chronic lung disease, and also genetic diseases that you inherit.
So here's the bottom line. Communicable diseases are infectious invaders that you can catch. Non-communicable diseases are conditions that come from inside your own body or are genetic, and you just can't catch them from someone else. It's really the difference between an outside attack and an internal problem.
To really get this difference, let's dive into our first big example, cancer. It's a classic, and frankly, a scary example of a non-communicable disease, a disease from within.
The most important thing to get about cancer is where it starts. It's not some germ you pick up. It's a disease of our own cells. For different reasons, a normal, healthy cell can just go rogue. It forgets the basic rule book that tells it when to stop dividing, so it just keeps growing totally out of control, and that forms a lump that we call a tumor.
But not all tumors are the same. A benign tumor is a lump that just stays put. It can cause problems, sure, by pressing on things, but it doesn't invade other parts of the body. A malignant tumor, on the other hand, that's what we're talking about when we say cancer. Its real danger is its ability to spread. So how does a malignant tumor do that? Well, it's a pretty scary and clever process. First, the tumor tricks the body into building it a private network of blood vessels. Then, cancer cells can break off, hop into that blood supply, and use it like a highway to travel anywhere else in the body. When they find a new spot, they just get off the highway and start dividing again, creating a whole new tumor. This process, it's called metastasis, and it's what makes cancer so dangerous. And because cancer is a problem with our own cells, the treatments are all designed to target and destroy them. This is why we have things like surgery to just cut the tumor out, radiation to kill cells in one specific area, and chemotherapy, which uses powerful drugs to kill fast-dividing cells anywhere in the body.
Okay, so now let's do a complete 180. We just talked about a disease from within. Now let's look at a classic outside invader, measles. This is a perfect example of a communicable disease.
The key difference is right here. It's a viral illness. Unlike cancer, which is our own cells going haywire, measles is caused by an actual virus, a tiny little invader that gets into our body from the outside, and it is incredibly infectious.
The symptoms probably sound familiar. It's a lot like a really bad cold or flu, running nose, sneezing, a cough, but it has some telltale signs, like sore, red eyes, and these distinctive little grayish-white spots inside the cheeks. That's just the virus doing its work, causing this massive body-wide reaction. And here's how it becomes communicable. The virus hitches a ride on millions of tiny droplets when an infected person coughs or sneezes. You can get sick just by breathing in that air or even touching a surface where those droplets have landed.
It is a classic external attack.
All right, so now you've got the fundamental framework. Let's do a quick fire round to see if you can classify some common diseases. You ready?
Okay, let's sort them. In the communicable or invader category, we've got measles, HIV, and malaria. Makes sense. Now, for the non-communicable conditions, the ones that develop over time, that's type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and Alzheimer's. And then there's that special subcategory of non-communicable conditions you're born with, the genetic ones. That's cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, and hemophilia. You see the pattern, right? It always comes back to invaders versus internal conditions.
So, we've defined disease, we've split it into two categories, we've looked at examples. But what's the big takeaway here? Why is this simple classification so important?
This is it. Knowing whether a disease is communicable or non-communicable dictates our entire strategy for fighting it. For those communicable invaders, like measles, we develop vaccines to prepare our immune systems for an attack. But for the non-communicable internal risks, like heart disease or some cancers, we have to focus on managing lifestyle factors and developing treatments that target our own biology. Two different problems, two completely different battle plans.
And that leaves us with a final thought. We face threats from both outside invaders and from our own internal malfunctions. Knowing the difference is the first step. The next, and much harder step, is deciding how we, as a society, should allocate our time, our money, and our research to best protect ourselves from both of these very different kinds of threats. It's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.